Hey folks, I hope you're having a fantastic day because today the joke's on, well, joke might be on me, but I don't know. My guest is W.G. Williams, or Bill Williams. He's been collecting jokes for many, many years, and he's got a book out that's called 20 Years of Internet Humor. And in fact, you can find him at internet-humor.com. So we're going to talk about the importance of humor. You know, without humor, what is life? Think about that one. We got to laugh every once in a while, right? It makes you feel good. It actually is probably good for your health too. When you tell a joke, you bring smiles and you bring laughter. So if you're ready, let's get right into this. But before we do that, if you are a pet owner, please be responsible and have your pet spayed or neutered. I'm glad that you're here because this world needs a little bit of humor. So you are the guy. Humor is so important, not just today, but every day. So how did you come about thinking about doing this? Were you in a rut, or were you seeing people who needed humor in their life?
Well, the book actually came about after last couple of years. The discourse on the TVs became so decisive, incisive, objectionable, with people yelling and screaming at each other. I said they need to laugh more, okay? And that's where I got the idea of putting the book out. And it's not that I had nothing to work with, because I had 3,000 or 4,000 of these jokes stashed away from 30 years of putting out a daily thought on the internet. And so I just started combining them, and the first book just fell into place, and the next book's ready to go, and the book after that's pretty close to it. So wow. It came out that way.
You know, I've got to throw this in there because a popular show right now on one of the streaming networks might be Max, and it's called I think it's called The Last of Us. I don't know if you're familiar with that,
I'm not
but
familiar with it.
It's we'll say it's like a I can't even say see, I can't even say it.
Post-apocalyptic.
Thank you. Yes, I'm tongue-tied today. Yes, and one of the things that they find is this book with jokes. To you, how important is humor and, you know, telling a joke?
Well, I got to tell you, all my life I've basically cracked a joke. You know, when I'm meeting somebody or walking into a new situation, try to find something humorous that I can see if I can make somebody laugh at. And it just came natural to me, and it aggravated my wife no end. Why do you do that? Because I enjoy it. Hey, laughing is not a bad thing. But now it's more important than ever, and I find myself with more opportunities to use it, so I do. Particularly since I've now been editing these jokes in the books, and more things come to mind.
Well, I suppose we can find humor in just about everything, every situation, every day, can't we?
Oh, absolutely. You know, even death, serious injury, things of that nature can have some humorous aspects to it. And one of the last stories in this first volume is about a guy who gets seriously injured from a major fall from a radio antenna. Okay? And he's thinking, I may not survive this. And so he's hauled into the emergency room, and he's looking and seeing that the doctors really think, you know, we don't have much chance for this one. And one of the nurses comes up to him and says, do you have any allergies? And he says, yes. And she said, to what? Gravity. And it caused everybody in the room to laugh. He said, I want you to treat me like I'm living, not like I'm about to die.
Oh, gosh. I will say, though, sometimes people just can't take a joke, can they?
That's absolutely true. I've got another favorite, and it's about this attorney who doesn't have many friends because of his abrasive personality. And he has to go into the hospital, and he's just giving the nurses royal hell. And they really don't want to deal with him. But the head nurse comes in and says, I have to take your temperature. And he says, okay, go ahead. And she says, no, you have to roll over. This one has to be done rectally. So he gives her a little bit of trouble and rolls over anyway. And so they insert the object in his posterior, and leave him there. And she walks out the door, leaving the door open. And all these people are walking past and snickering, and he is getting so angry. And finally, a doctor walks in and says, "What's going on here?" And he says, "Have you never seen anybody having their temperature taken before?" And he says, "Not with a carnation."
To me, it just really seems like that when you have a sense of humor and you have humor and jokes, it's a way to connect with people too.
Oh, absolutely.
But again, there are some hits and there are some misses, but I suppose the intent really isn't to be funny. I don't know if I'm going to come across saying this the right way. I don't know if the intent is to be funny, but to me, the humor or telling a joke is to lighten the situation, to open the doors for something, maybe that communication, maybe to say, hey, we're not so different.
No, you're absolutely right. And if you can make somebody at least smile, you're ahead of the game. Because, hey, that's one of the tricks of selling, salesmanship, is staying on the good side of your prospect. And one of the techniques is using their name. And another technique is making them laugh. So, hey, it's a sales technique.
And you would know for sure, because like I said, you've had years of putting this together, but in your former life, aside from being this jokester, this comedian, this humor guy, you were in television production and everything, and you even worked state capitol, I think, and things like that. So you really had to understand people and kind of, I would imagine, quickly figure out what their sense of humor is.
Yeah, I was in 20 years in Washington, D.C., and sometimes that's a hard place to make people laugh.
Yeah. Yeah, I could not imagine having to do that. But again, like we were talking about, humor being such an important part of our, I think, daily life, just to lighten the load, so to speak. Where can people go to get your information, to get your series of books and your ongoing series of humorous books?
Thought for the Day is available free of charge to anybody who would like to get it. All they have to do is go to my website, which is www.internet-humor.com. You got to put that dash in between the two words, otherwise it gets disappeared. And it's free. It's no cost. If you don't like it, just hit unsubscribe and you're off the list. So it's not a long-term commitment. On the other hand, the book, 20 Years of Internet Humor, is available at Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, you name it. It's most of the major bookstores out there, and an awful lot of the minor ones, too. So it's definitely available to just about anybody in both softcover and ebooks. So I love to show people the cover. Somehow or other, I got the idea for using the Janus head, and then my cover designer said, well, let's put them on a computer. And so, hey, it worked out.
I love it. Have you ever had a situation where you try to be humorous, tell that joke, and it just kind of bombed on you?
Well, I have a joke that is in the book, and I can tell it's going to bomb on half the audience. It's going to bomb on the women for the most part, okay? And it's a story about wedding dresses. And this couple takes their young son to a wedding, and after it's all over with, he's starting to think, and he says, Mom, why are brides' wedding dresses always white? And she says, well, son, that's so that she can show the guests that she is pure. And he's like, oh, okay. And so he goes back to his dad after they separate and says, Dad, why are brides' wedding dresses always white? He says, son, don't you know all kitchen appliances come in white?
Now, I like that one. That's a good one.
But you're a guy.
I've never heard that. Right, exactly. Ladies, sorry about that. Oh gosh. Now, you're going to continue collecting jokes and writing this series, and doing your daily email, right?
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
forever.
And you use the correct word, collecting, because if I had to come up with all these things on myself, it'd be 1 year of internet humor. Because the vast majority of these things come in things that my readers have sent in. And some people have sent in so many that before long I'm going to be having a special book with all of just their jokes in those books.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you just told that joke about the appliance. Maybe thousands of people, if not millions, have heard that. I haven't heard it before.
Oh,
So all
absolutely.
these collections, right? It's just like there's going to be something in there that you've not heard. So I love that.
But keep in mind, jokes come around because somebody sent in, as a matter of fact, I used it just last week. Somebody sends in a joke, and I think, I've seen this before, and I double check, and yeah. And this particular joke is very popular this year, okay? But I pointed out to it, I got this joke 22 years ago, okay? And it was funny then. It's still funny now, and we have a whole new generation, 2 generations that have never heard the joke, so they never run out.
Hey, it's a sequel, but a good one.
Right.
Oh, gosh. Bill, so as far as all this joke and humor goes, do people need to have a comedic timing or not necessarily? Thought I'd throw that in there.
Not necessarily, but that brings to mind one of my favorite jokes, which is not in the book, by the way. And this guy was a new guard at a prison. And he's watching the inmates at lunch. And one of them would stand up and say, 14. And everybody would laugh like mad. And another would stand up and say, 38. And everybody would just laugh like mad. And he's asking one guard, what is going on? He says, they're telling jokes. What do you mean? He says, well, they've been here so long that they've just given the joke a number. And if they tell the number, people laugh. He said, well, I'm going to try it. So he stands up and says, 32. And nobody laughs. He says, 41. And nobody laughs. He says, well, what's going on? And he says, well, some people can tell a joke and some people can't.
Oh, all right. You've got some good stuff here. A good collection.
Thank you, sir.
And I can tell you right now that, it's just another day. But just now, just talking with you, just getting me to laugh a little, it feels good. It brightens the day.
And I hope that continues.
You have given a great jump start to it. So is that really the purpose of humor, is to, how should I put this, to make that person feel good about themselves, so they in turn, it radiates out and others will feel good. I guess what I'm getting at, are we trying to make the world a better place through humor?
I've never heard that description before, but it's very appropriate. And I would like to think I was trying to make the world a better place with humor, but all I'm trying to do is just get one person at a time to read my emails and have a much brighter day. Okay? And if they get the book, hey, they can have a whole bunch of bright days. And the nice part about it is you can just leave it on your coffee table and some visitors will come in and maybe look at it and smile. Hey, it's one of those things where it's great bedtime reading because it's a lot better thing to read than to go through the news releases and all that sort of stuff, and just that ruins your day, let's face it. So go to sleep with a smile.
I like that. And this gets me to think about, remember the days when we used to have, maybe they still do, the little desk, the tiny 4x4 desk calendars with a joke every single day. I don't see those anymore.
Well, you don't see the desk calendar anymore because it's all on your cell phone.
That's true. I used to love those. Those were great. So I'm thinking your daily joke is kind of the same thing. It's
just in a different format.
Yep, different format. It's made for today's time and for today's people, and there's really no age, demographics, or anything like that as far as these humor and jokes go.
Oh, you're right. Absolutely. Although octogenarians and some of us older folks tend to take old people's jokes much better than some of the younger people who are saying, "What's funny about that?" Those who have gotten to that point know what's funny about that.
Bill, ain't that the truth? Because as soon as you said that, I'm thinking about, I know I'm going off tangent a little bit here, but I'm trying to stay on this track of this humor. But what you said just now really hits home with me, because I'm thinking about these shows, All in the Family, Jeffersons, Sanford and Son. They just wouldn't fly because of either they would not understand the joke, or they're saying it hits the wrong way. But it was all humor. We loved it then.
Well, just the other day, about 2 days ago, I was driving from across country, and I had my Sirius radio on tunes of the 40s. And a Peggy Lee song came out called Manana. And I remember that as a kid. And I remember thinking that was so funny. And I'm thinking, oh my God, if they played that today, there'd be a riot. Because technically, yes, it's funny, but it basically points the finger at some subcultures that would really not get it, and it's not appropriate for today's use.
Yeah. Like I said, I know I'm kind of sidetracked on this, but I feel that it's important because we've gotten to the point where we are, I personally think, oversensitive about things, so we can't take a joke. And then those who want to tell a joke and be humorous are afraid to tell the joke, or it gets changed and then it's just not funny at all.
You're absolutely right with that. And I do have to watch myself when I'm editing these things, because some things that are exactly the way that you pointed out, would, as it came to me, would be really objectionable. I can change it and make it okay. And that's what an editor does. And that's one of the things that I spend my time doing.
Yeah. There are situations where, yes, like you said, we have to watch the verbiage, the syntax. We don't want a syntax error that causes disruption. So,
particularly not in person.
Right. Yes, exactly.
I mean, they can turn you off, they can turn me off, but if we're facing each other in person, it gets tough.
Yeah. So let me ask you, since you brought that up, is, this kind of leads or goes along with the comedic timing type of thing, but if you're in person, say you're in a group of a bunch of people, a diverse group, we'll say, and you all of a sudden you have this funny thought, should you just blurt it out, or should you put the brakes on for a second, go, who's here, and think before you say?
Today, I would take that second option. Okay. In years past, that would not have been the case. And if they didn't like it, too bad. But not today.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, right now, everything that we're saying is funny to me, because it's funny that we have to be that way. Maybe not humorous, but it's funny.
Right.
So there's a slight difference, I think, between humor and funny. So, but this is one of those things I hope that all of us revert back to, is being able to tell a joke, being able to laugh, and then pat each other on the back and say, that was great.
Absolutely.
So, Bill, can you remind us one more time where they can go to get the information, how they're going to sign up for that daily joke and humor? And it's free.
Yeah, the best price around.
Yeah.
They can go to www.internet-humor.com. And there's a place on there where they can sign up, to get the thought for the day. It's a lot of information about the book and some of the other things that I do. And you can, if you just want to buy the book, you can go to Amazon or Books A Million or Barnes & Noble or any of those places. And even if they don't have it in stock, I'm sure they'd be glad to get one for you, because they all have access to it.
And as you said, it's 20 years of internet humor, but it's 20 numeric, not spelled out.
And it's volume 1, because there may be as many as 10 additional volumes coming out, because I've got the materials for it.
Be prepared, folks. Be prepared. folks out there that are watching and listening, so let's try something new, a challenge that you put on your social media, a clean, funny joke.
And send it to me.
Yes. Yes.
I
And send
need
it
all
to
the help
Bill.
I can get.
So, Bill, do you give people any little credits or anything like that?
Every single article that I use that I haven't written myself, I use the name of the subscriber, so they all get credit. And when I repeat it, I put the date that it originally appeared. As a matter of fact, one of the ones that I was working on today was from 2006.
Wow.
And
All right.
it's just an indication of how things go around, come back around.
Well, there you go. If you're out there saying, boy, I sure want my fame, Bill is here to help you, to give you your 15 seconds of fame, which could go on indefinitely.
Absolutely. And it doesn't cost you a dime.
Right? Doesn't cost a dime to share nor to send it in.
Right.
Bill, this has been fun. I know it's been a quick one, but you know what? Jokes don't tend to last forever. You just go on to the next one.
But then they do last forever because they come back around.
Yes, which means that we're going to come back around and we're going to talk about series number 2, 3, 4, on. And we're going to do a comparison of how things have changed over the years.
And I'm looking forward to getting your contributions too, Chuck.
I may have a joke or two, but it's one of those where it's may not be 100% appropriate, so I'll have to be my editor. And
I will edit it. I promise you.
Okay, great. Bill, again, thank you very much for your time today. You have lightened the load, and brightened my day. So
Well, I'm delighted. That makes my day.
I'm feeling happy.